Hey guys, it's another day, time for another GameHammer daily review. Today we're going into epic fantasy with Dungeons & Dragons, Warriors of the Eternal Sun on the Mega Drive. Let's take a look at it. When I was a kid, the Mega Drive was where you went if you wanted platform games, side-scrolling beat-em-ups, shoot-em-ups, or even puzzle games. Those were great, I have to admit it, but as I got a little older, there was one kind of game that really started to strike a chord with me: the dungeon-crawling computer role-playing game. I had come across Dungeons & Dragons thanks to the TSR Black Box set, which I had seen in a shop in Munich while visiting family in Germany in the early 90s. The idea of the game had fascinated me from the moment I set eyes on it. You could create your own world and have adventures in it with your friends? Hey, that sounds awesome! None of my family were interested in playing it. I was hardly ever able to get my friends to give it a try either. Dungeons & Dragons just didn't interest them at all. I could occasionally get some friends interested in the fighting fantasy books, those British choose-your-own-adventure games that were heavily inspired by D&D, but I could never get people to sit down and play the real thing. So when I was browsing the Mega Drive selection in my local video rental shop one weekend, you can imagine my delight when I discovered Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun. I had to play it. I hired the game, shoved it into my Mega PC, and entered the world of... Where the hell is this set anyway? The introduction suggests the game is set on Earth. It actually names Earth. But that can't be right, can it? Wikipedia says the game is set in the D&D Hollow World campaign setting, which would make this game set inside the hollow world of whatever planet Mystara is on. But the game manual doesn't actually tell you any of that, so your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to go with calling it Mystara though, because while Mystara is the name of a continent rather than a planet, I'm pretty sure that we're not on Earth, since Earth doesn't let you cast Magic Missile once per day as a first level pleb. Or does it? Let's go and find out. Okay, this is going to be a quick test to see whether we can actually cast a magic missile here on Earth. Got my magic wand? Let's give it a try. Magic missile. Magic missile. It's not really working, is it? But let's see if something else will. Hadouken! Hey, that worked. See? No magic missiles on Earth. The game must be set on Mystara, or wherever the planet Mystara is on is actually called. Well, under the surface of that planet anyway. The setting is based on the old myth of the Hollow Earth, where strange creatures are supposed to lurk deep beneath the surface of the planet. Somehow the city you were in fell into the centre of the planet during a battle with goblins, and now your quest is to find some allies before your people descend into utter anarchy. And you better find those allies quick too, because if you don't, everyone's going to go nuts and destroy their own town. It's a weird game over screen, this one. If you lose, your people trash their own city. Who in their right mind would ally with morons like that? Well, we'll find out later. Anyway, your party needs to grab a few items from some shops before they venture out into the world. I recommend armouring up, because the creatures that live in the centre of Mystara don't like the look of you and pretty much all want you dead on sight. Thankfully, you can return to the town and get resurrected if any of your party die, but you might want to save regularly because you'll hit on a load of random encounters along the way back. Speaking of your party, you can go with the default quartet, which is worth doing if you're new to the game, or you can build your own morons if you're a more experienced player. If you do go down the custom route, you can select one of 7 character classes for each character: Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, because there aren't any wizards, Thief, Dwarf, Elf, and Halfling. Yes, you heard me right. Elf, Dwarf, and Halfling are classes in this game because it's based on the original Dungeons & Dragons rules from back when being a dwarf was apparently a career choice. Once you've decided on your classes, you can pick a colour for your people and then set out to explore this brave new world. It's a pretty big world that you've got to explore too. There's a lot to see and do here, with many, many baddies to fight along the way to your journey's end. The terrain is bright and colourful, with lots of nice 16-bit detail. The characters look a little generic for my liking, and several are very reminiscent of the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon in terms of their sprite design, but that's probably because the costumes that the people in Dungeons & Dragons the cartoon wore were pretty generic medieval. The monsters are varied, but the design of some of the enemies does look a bit weird. I ran into a boar enemy that didn't quite seem right to me when I looked at it, but oh well. Combat in this game is nice. It's a standard D&D turn-based combat, but with the freedom of movement of a tactical RPG. You can have 2 weapons selected at any one time, which will be accessed via the A and B buttons on the Mega Drive controller, and you can cancel a selected weapon using the opposite button. So if you accidentally select weapon A, you can unselect it by pressing button B, but don't press the C button unless you want to skip a turn. When your weapon is selected, the D-pad turns into a target cursor on the screen. Your cursor will turn red if the target is in range, and stay white if it's not. Highlight the monster that you want to attack and press the A or B button again to attack it. It's very simple. The computer will then roll invisible dice to see if you hit, and at low levels you probably won't, but that's Dungeons & Dragons for you, and then applies damage if you do. Repeat until either the monster is dead or you are. It's that simple. So that's how the game goes. You wander around the landscape in an almost top-down view, as is traditional for these games. You fight some baddies and then you occasionally head into an area that's presented in a kind of 3D look, Dungeon Master style. Those areas are far harder and you'll get your arse handed to you if you're not prepared for them, so get your equipment and characters upgraded a bit before you head in there. Once you're able to progress a bit more, you'll need to find the allies that the Duke wants and take the battle to the goblins, who are also down under the surface of the world now, thanks to the same cataclysm that brought you here. Then it turns out that the goblins aren't the final enemy. You'll need to battle the creatures that keep sending your townspeople berserk in the game over screen. These are the creatures that live even further underground, and I won't go into too much detail about them because I can't reach that part of the game. I need to play this game an awful lot more if I'm ever going to have a chance of finishing it. In summary, I really do like this game. The controls are simple, the characters are decent enough, and the story is odd but fun enough to keep me engaged. Warriors of the Eternal Sun is the only Dungeons & Dragons game on the Mega Drive, which I always find a bit weird because it is a franchise that is ripe for exploitation in computer games, and on the PC we would see an awful lot more. I enjoyed this game when I hired it from the video shop back in the 90s, and I still enjoy it now. One day I might even finish it, but not today. And there you have it. It's actually a pretty good game. The music's great, the graphics aren't too bad. I mean, they're a little fuzzy on the version that I've recorded here, but that's just because of the way that we've recorded the footage. Sorry about that. The Mega Drive can handle really good graphics, and this is actually pretty sweet. If you see it on a great crisp screen, it looks gorgeous just now as it did back then. So the graphics are great, the music's great, gameplay wise it's really good too. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing this. I'm going to keep going and playing it even more, see if I can finish it. I don't think I will on this try through, but you never know. So I hope you like it too if you give it a try. I think you will if you're a fan of computer RPGs, especially Western style computer RPGs. I think you'll find something fun here. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you did like this, and if you did, remember to click that like button, share it with your friends so that they'll know a good game when they see it, and do subscribe for future videos because there will be more in the future. But until next time, I've been Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching GameHammer Daily, and I'll see you tomorrow.